If you had walked into our family home in Tampa that afternoon, you'd have felt it. Something electric, something rehearsed, something dangerous humming beneath the air-conditioned chill. The Whittakers were gathered like it was a royal ceremony, not an inheritance meeting, and every face glowed with the same expectation, that my older brother Ryan would be crowned king of Grandma Margaret's legacy. And he was ready for his coronation. He stood up, champagne flute in hand, tapping it like he was the host of some award show. "Well," he said, grinning from ear to ear, "Mom and Dad decided to leave all 8 Florida rental properties to me." The room erupted so fast you'd think he'd just announced free Teslas for everyone. Cheers, whistles, a few cousins even clapped him so hard on the back he almost spilled his drink. His fiancée, Brooke, beamed like she'd just secured her financial future in one sentence. Mom dabbed her eyes in pride. Dad puffed out his chest like he'd personally built every house brick by brick. I didn't clap. I didn't even move. I looked straight at my father and said, "Calm as ever, Dad. You forgot one thing, didn't you?" Everything stopped. Ryan's jaw tightened mid-grin. Brooke froze with her glass halfway to her lips. 30 people went silent at the same time. Even the AC felt louder. Everyone in that room knew, instantly, that whatever script they'd prepared wasn't going to survive the next 5 minutes. Before I tell you the one thing my father forgot, you have to understand how we got here, because if I don't take you back, none of this will make sense. None of the shock, none of the betrayal, none of the reason their perfect celebration burned to ash in their hands. My name is Tegan Whittaker, and for most of my life I've been the invisible one in a family that only ever looked in one direction, toward my older brother Ryan, the golden child, the future, the son who could do no wrong. Growing up in our perfect South Tampa home, boats in the driveway, Christmas cards, smiles every holiday season, you'd think we lived inside a magazine spread. But behind all that shine was a quiet hierarchy, one everyone followed without question. Ryan first, Ryan praised, Ryan protected. Me, I was the daughter who learned early how to stay out of the spotlight. Teachers mixed up our names, but Ryan always corrected them playfully, like even my identity was another thing he had to manage for me. Birthdays, his cake was cut first, his gifts opened loudest. My achievements were background noise. When I asked for extra math tutoring in middle school, Mom sighed and said money was tight, because Ryan needed new cleats. When I got a full scholarship to the University of Georgia, Dad's response was, "Guess someone has to leave Florida." So I left. At 22, I packed my life into a beat-up Civic and drove north until Tampa was nothing more than a blur in my mirror. Atlanta welcomed me with open arms. It was the first city that didn't measure my worth against Ryan's shadow. I became a commercial real estate analyst downtown, learning how money moved, how properties worked, how ownership wasn't just about names on paper but about power. The only person from home who cared enough to keep me tethered was Grandma Margaret. She wasn't fooled by family roles or favoritism. She never compared, never belittled, never treated me like the lesser child. She listened, actually listened, to me talk about lease abstracts and cap rates as if I were reciting poetry. She pressed sweet tea into my hand before I drove back north every Sunday night, telling me, 9 hours isn't a lifetime, sweetheart, come back whenever you need breath. She became the oxygen that home never gave me. But as her health began to fade, she started asking questions that made my heart beat a little harder. Explain trusts to me. How do deeds transfer quietly? Who really controls a property once the county records say otherwise? Every answer I gave her felt like I was unknowingly stepping into a plan she was already crafting. And then 3 years ago, she called me to St. Pete, no explanation. Just, "I need your eyes on something." When I arrived, she was waiting on the porch with 2 folders and coffee strong enough to wake the dead. She slid the first folder to me and said, "Read." Over the next hour, I watched numbers dance across those pages in ways that didn't lie. $400,000 in maintenance and emergency repairs had vanished. Receipts were missing or photocopied so many times the ink bled, and the handwriting on the few receipts that existed, Ryan's. I looked up at her. She didn't flinch. I gave him access because he said he wanted to learn, she whispered. Turns out he learned how to steal. I asked why she didn't confront him. Because your parents will defend him, they always do, and by the time they realize what he's taken, there'll be nothing left. Then she opened the second folder. Inside were 8 quitclaim deeds, a complete living trust, her signature already on every line. "Tegan," she said, "these houses build stability for 32 families. They're not toys for boys who never learned consequences. You see things clearly. That's rarer than money." Monday morning the notary arrived. We signed everything in her dining room while the ceiling fan clicked overhead. When it was done, she poured us both bourbon at 11:45 a.m., raised her glass and whispered, "Now it's done." And now we shut up. I swore I wouldn't say a word. She made me promise I meant it. We burned the extra copies in her outdoor fireplace, watching the smoke curl into the palms. For the next 2.5 years, everything looked normal on the surface. Ryan bragged about his properties. Mom praised him for being responsible. Dad used him as the example for every family conversation. Meanwhile, the county property appraiser's website listed the owner of all 8 properties as Tegan Whittaker. But no one bothered to check. Why would they? When Grandma passed 13 months ago, I stood in the back of the church while Ryan gave a dramatic eulogy. Everyone wept for her. I felt her last words echoing in my bones. Paper beats promises every time. 7 months after the funeral, my mother called me back for a family meeting, one I should have known better than to attend. The entire dining room looked like a courtroom, Dad at the head, Ryan smirking like he already won, Mom clutching tissues. "We just need you to sign a quick waiver," Dad said, sliding the document toward me. "To avoid confusion, Ryan's handling everything, so it's best if we keep control clean. A waiver of inheritance interest. All 8 addresses listed." I pushed it back without blinking. "I'm not signing away anything." The room froze. Dad's voice dropped dangerously low. "Tegan, don't start." Mom tried emotional manipulation. Ryan tried arrogance, but for the first time in my life. I didn't shrink. I stood, grabbed my keys and walked out. Ryan hissed, "You're so selfish." I didn't even look back when I answered, "Selfish is stealing from a dead woman." The door slammed behind me. They spent the next weeks convincing themselves I was throwing a tantrum. They had no idea the storm was already built, and I was the only one holding the lightning. 2 weeks ago an invitation arrived, cream cardstock, gold border, a celebration of Margaret Whittaker's legacy. A coronation for Ryan. I packed a suitcase, 3 folders, a flash drive, freshly printed copies of every recorded deed. And I drove 9 hours home. The house looked like a wedding reception. White tents, caterers, shrimp cocktails, even glossy brochures titled Whittaker Family Rentals, a new era. Ryan strutted through the crowd with Brooke on his arm, soaking up praise. People kept congratulating him. Some gave me that pity look you give someone who lost a race they never entered. Then, right on cue, Ryan stood up in the center of the room, lifted his glass and announced, "As of today, all 8 rental properties are officially under my name." The applause shook the walls. Until it didn't. Until they noticed me. Rolling my suitcase forward. The wheels clicked against the hardwood like a countdown. I stopped at the coffee table, opened the case, pulled out the first deed. The notary seal glittered in the light. Then the second deed, then the third, 8 in total, all signed, all recorded, all mine. Ryan's face drained of color. Mom staggered back. Dad whispered, "No, impossible." I laid the trust on top. Grandma Margaret's signature stared back at them. "This," I said softly, "is what you forgot." No one spoke, no one breathed. I looked at all of them, the cousins who clapped for my downfall, the aunts who treated me like background noise, the brother who stole, the parents who let him. And I finally said the words Grandma had left me with. Paper beats promises every single time. And in that moment, with 30 witnesses frozen around me, the script they rehearsed for months didn't just burn. It turned to ash. Because the legacy they tried to steal was never theirs to take. It was mine. And now, they all knew it.